Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is August 31st, 2023. We are in the Old Testament book of 1 Samuel. We're going to read chapter 18 today. All right, so David just had his big victory over Goliath. Everybody's happy. All the people, all the Israelites are happy. David's happy. Jonathan, Saul's son, is happy. We've got a great victory. The only one who isn't happy is Saul, the king. So he becomes jealous of David. And it's with this, we continue with our story. Well, one of the things we said we wanted to do was compare Saul to David. So again, we're seeing David's rise and Saul fall. We're seeing David be faithful to God and Saul kind of sink into himself and be jealous instead of doing what a king should do and say, hey, you know what, you help my people, let me reward you, you're a great asset to me, and I should be happy that you're part of my people and not against me. But instead, Saul tries to kill him, and this, in fact, tries to kill him a couple times. Now we see Jonathan, Saul's son. Now he should be, as the son, he would be next in line to be the king, but he understands, you know, that fake humility, that not quite really real humility we saw Saul exhibit. We actually see humility on Jonathan. He understands, you know what, I'm not really cut out to be the king. It's David. He should be the king, and he welcomes it. Hey, you know what, I want a good king over my people, the Israelites, and that's David. So they develop a great bond together. And Saul resents that even, and Saul connives to offer David one of his daughters, and then he backs away and gives her to somebody else. And then he gives her another daughter. And then when that daughter ends up loving David, now he hates the daughter for loving David. So Saul's a mess. And one of the things we see in here, it says that God sends like an evil spirit or a hurtful spirit or something like that. And so God sends one spirit, the Holy Spirit. Now, what's the difference? Well, David gets the Holy Spirit, and he welcomes it, and he does what the Holy Spirit tells him, and he loves it, and good things happen. Saul, the same Holy Spirit falls on him, but he's fighting it, he's resisting it. You know, he wants to hang on to his sin, and it turns into, well, it's called an evil spirit, but you know, God doesn't send something evil. But if I'm on the wrong side of God, it's going to sure seem like I got an evil spirit, I guess. So that's what's going on here. And let's go ahead and we're going to get into it. 1 Samuel chapter 18. Now, when he had finished speaking to Saul, the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. Saul took him that day and would not let him go home to his father's house anymore. Then Jonathan and David made a covenant because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan took off the robe that was on him and gave it to David with his armor, even to his sword and his bow and his belt. So David went out wherever Saul sent him and behaved wisely. And Saul set him over the men of war, and he was accepted in the sight of all the people, and also in the sight of Saul's servants. Now it had happened as they were coming home, when David was returning from the slaughter of the Philistines, that the women had come out of all the cities of Israel, singing and dancing to meet King Saul with tambourines, with joy, and with musical instruments. So the women sang as they danced and said, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. Then Saul was very angry, and the saying displeased him, and he said, they have ascribed to David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed only thousands. Now what more can he have but the kingdom? So Saul eyed David from that day forward. And it happened on the next day that the distressing spirit from God came upon Saul, and he prophesied inside the house. So David played music with his hand, as at the other times, but there was a spear in Saul's hand, and Saul cast the spear, for he said, I will pin David to the wall. But David escaped his presence twice. Now Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with him, but had departed from Saul. Therefore Saul removed him from his presence and made him his captain over 1,000. And he went out and came in before the people. And David behaved wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. Therefore when Saul saw that he behaved very wisely, he was afraid of him. But all Israel and Judah loved David because he went out and came in before them. Then Saul said to David, here is my older daughter Merab. I will give her to you as a wife. Only be valiant for me and fight the Lord's battles. For Saul thought, let my hand not be against him, but let the hand of the Philistines be against him. So David said to Saul, who am I, and what is my life or my father's family in Israel, that I should be son-in-law to the king? But it happened at the time when Merab, Saul's daughter, should have been given to David, that she was given to Adriel the Mahalathite as a wife. Now Michal, Saul's daughter, loved David, and they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. So Saul said, I will give her to him, that she may be a snare to him, and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Therefore Saul said to David a second time, You shall be my son-in-law today. And Saul commanded his servants, Communicate with David secretly, and say, Look, the king has delight in you, and all his servants love you. Now therefore become the king's son-in-law. So Saul's servant spoke those words in the hearing of David, and David said, Does it seem to you a light thing to be a king's son-in-law, seeing I am a poor and lightly esteemed man? And the servants of Saul told him, saying, In this manner David spoke. Then Saul said, Thus you shall say to David, The king does not desire any dowry but 100 foreskins of the Philistines, to take vengeance on the king's enemies. But Saul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines. So when the servants told David these words, it pleased David well to become the king's son-in-law. Now the days had not expired. Therefore David arose and went, he and his men, and killed 200 men of the Philistines. And David brought their foreskins, and they gave them in full count to the king, that he might become the king's son-in-law. Then Saul gave him Michal his daughter as a wife. Thus Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him. And Saul was more afraid of David. So Saul became David's enemy continually. And the princes of the Philistines went out to war, and so it was, whenever they went out, that David behaved more wisely than all the servants of Saul, so that his name became highly esteemed. May God bless reading of his word. May God bless you. Bye. Heard all that buzzing. Apparently, the cicadas have come out. There's a nice big fat one. How big are they? Pretty big. Nature. Bye.